more people trickling in, but we'll go ahead and get started as this will be recorded. And then I'll be able to have time for questions at the end. But hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this Concept3D Client Success webinar. Today's topic, as you see here, are 360-degree tours, where I'm going to be presenting a high-level overview of the end-user experience for visitors first arriving to your tour, some of the features that you can include, and a look at how you can manage that content on the back end. Now, if you've already completed a CMS1 training for your 360-degree tour, 360-degree tour with us, a lot of this information may be a bit more of a refresher for you, but this presentation is geared towards a general audience. So if you have questions about your specific tour instance, please send an email to your client success manager or reach out to us at support@concept3d.com. I'm going to make sure we have time for questions at the end. However, please feel free to add some in the chat or the Q&A field so that I may answer some as we go live on webinar. I'm also going to try to cover a lot of ground and work quickly today. However, this meeting is being recorded for on-demand viewing, which you will receive in a follow-up email a little later this week. Brief introduction here. My name is Andy Marshall, and I've been with Localist since May of 2021, which was acquired by Concept3D this past January. Since then, I've been working as the customer education lead on behalf of our client success team, working on help site documentation and preparing presentations such as this one to help bring our clients up to speed. So here is a quick peek at our agenda today. We're going to start with a brief presentation. Well, I'll introduce some features. Then we're going to take a look at the front-facing end user experience before we look at the content management system for your tour. Again, lastly, we will have some time for questions if there are any at the end. We're going to start with a point of clarification, as if you are an interactive map customer, you may be familiar with map tours. Map tours are an included feature of our interactive map, and that uses our 3D renderings as the main view, rather than the visual media we're going to see the 360-degree tour using. Typically, we use 360 panoramas or 360 videos for these for a much more immersive experience. While these two products are handled in two separate CMS, you can embed your map into the tour, which I'll show an example of when we get to that tour a little later. So the two locations we're going to be talking about today and then seeing in real time are your front-facing tour and the Tour Builder CMS. Your front-facing tour is exactly that. It is your 360-degree or virtual tour that will greet a visitor when arriving at the page. And Tour Builder is where you can create and edit those tours quickly and easily. First up, we're going to talk some user roles and who can do what in the tour. First and foremost, every account must have an owner. Owners will have the same level of permissions as admins, which is to say all of them. However, every account needs at least one person listed as the account owner, which needs to be configured on the Concept3D side. Next, as I mentioned, admins, they're able to manage and add users as well as edit tours and publish changes. Now, editors are not able to manage users, but what they can do is make edits to tours and create new tours, but they're not allowed to publish those changes. Now, a publisher can make edits to tours and create new tours, as well as publishing tours or changes made by others, but will not have any ability to manage users. Lastly, you can designate someone as a viewer, which that would entail is they would not have any access to your backend CMS, but this would allow them to access a restricted 360 tour with a username and password that you would provide. All right, first up, tour stops. Pretty self-explanatory. It's exactly that. It's the stop on the tour to show off a specific location. Now you can create these in the Tour Stops tab of Tour Builder. And every tour stop you create is going to need a main piece of media, which is going to fall into one of these three options here. Either a panoramic photo, a 360-degree video, or a still static image. Now, panoramas, they are those wide still images that can be panned and zoomed in any direction by your tour users. You can take these with a special 360-degree camera or even using your phone nowadays. A 360-degree video, these are immersive videos on a loop that can be controlled by your tour users exactly the same way as a panorama. Tour users can also pan and zoom in any direction around the video. And then lastly, when 360 media is not available, you do have the option for just a normal non-panoramic image to be used. You will not be able to pan around in this image the way you can with a panorama. It's all in the name. So regarding that 360 media, this can be created by you, the client, if those internal resources or equipment are available to you and your tour team, or you can have Concept3D schedule a photographer to come to your location. We work with a network of local certified photographers over the years who do great work. The most important thing to remember, though, is that all of the media produced from that photo shoot will belong to you. This is not something that Concept3D will own at all or in perpetuity. This is media we're creating for you to use, repurpose as you see fit after the project's complete. Another thing we're going to see when we visit the front end tour is the mini map. And here you'll have the option to customize it within the Tour Builder. You can use Concept3D map renderings if they're available, or you can just use the standard map tiles. You'll have some options here to customize your map box, either with a street view, a light or a dark theme, or a scenic map view. You can also add buttons to your 360 tour. Now, what's a button? We'll see that in real time in just a moment, but it's these link buttons across the top here. They're great call to action links that users can create that are featured at the top of your 360 tour. Examples of what to put here might be a contact page link, a feedback survey, or a really popular one, an apply now page. These can be standard hyperlink buttons, or they can be a dropdown that will contain up to 6 additional links. These either open in the current window, or what we recommend is that they open in a new tab entirely. So we're going to talk about some add-ons to the tour, starting with your hotspots. Now, hotspots are interactive elements within a tour stop that can be selected to engage in additional content or media. Hotspots are overlaid on the top of a 360 panorama or 360 video to provide additional media for informational or entertainment purposes. Now, we only recommend about 3 to 5 hotspots per tour stop, as you don't want to overwhelm your tour visitors with information. However, you do want to give them a lot of great context as to what's going on at that location. You'll see here the type of hotspots that you're able to add include an image. You can add a video. It can be an audio cue. You can add a nice block of text with a description. It can be a link out to an external page. It can be a link out to a different tour stop. You can highlight it, or you can use an embed in there as well. We'll see some hotspots in action in just a second here, but here's a great example of what we have here for the Kansas State University Foundation. We have a nice block of text here just describing what goes on at World War I Memorial Stadium here on campus. This would be an example of a text hotspot. And then down here to the right, I really like what they did here. This is a use of an image, and this is a rendering of a building that will be here at some point in the future, just to kind of give that context for this tour view currently. That is something that will be coming to the tour eventually once that building is built. However, just to give an idea of what it might look like. In the meantime, you can add an image there. I thought that was really clever what they did there. So another great add-on are forms. These are really important for our higher education clients as lead generation. If you want to capture information from your audience, this is a great way to do it. We do not collect this information or store it. This is managed via your external CRM and then embedded into the tour itself. We would just simply be passing this information along to you and your CRM of choice. All right, so I'm actually going to jump out of my presentation here, and we're going to go into the Concept3D. Actually, I'm just going to reload this page here. Sorry, folks, technical gremlins. There we go. Just wanted to show this, as this is how you'll be greeted when arriving at a page for the first time. Here you're going to see this pop-up video that, pop-up that welcomes you. Nice warm message here, just kind of explaining what you're about to get yourself into. You can start the tour. You will have the option for multi-language and for an additional fee. But currently we do work with, you'd be able to translate into Chinese, French, and Spanish. I do know on that we are working currently on German as well. But once you're ready to go ahead and start the tour, you can go ahead and click on Start the Tour. And here we are. This is it. This is a 360-degree panorama of the Concept3D quadrangle, as you see here. And just a few things to note right off the bat. First, up here across the top are those buttons I mentioned earlier. We have the option here, just of making a multi-language tour, or if you're ready to learn more, just a link out to an external website. I'll click on either of those. It's going to open in a new tab here for me. That's how I have it situated. Over here to the right, you have your option to share the tour. You'll have the option to share it as a media view or as a map view with a nice link. Also, if you wanted to embed this tour on an external page, you have the link always available to you via that share link up in the right corner. One option you'll have as well for any 360 panos is that you have the option to turn on auto rotate. And it's just going to slowly rotate as you're on the page, just to kind of give you a view of the campus, maybe as you're reading some other information. But just a cool little feature there. You also do have the option to go full screen with your tour as well, which we certainly recommend on a browser. Down here to the left, you're going to see that mini map that I discussed earlier. And this is something that you'll be able to use just to kind of give yourself a little bit better of an idea of where you are on the campus. If you go ahead and click this green triangle right here in the upper corner, you have the option to actually flip your panorama with the map views to just kind of give you an idea as to where your upcoming tour stops are going to be. We're going to flip back though. You also have the option to minimize your mini map if you want. Here we have a nice description of the quadrangle here, and we can just go ahead and minimize that for our own purposes. However, it is always available via that little information button in the bottom right. So here what we have, first of all, foremost, I mentioned you have the ability to embed your Concept3D interactive map if you are an interactive map customer. And that is exactly what I have here with this floating Concept3D logo, is just an embed link to this particular university's Concept3D map. Just click on this X to leave that here. We have an example here of some audio hotspots. What we have here is an in-world hotspot, and by clicking on this, it's just going to open up a small window for to either play or transcribe. We click out of this here. You'll then see this is an out-of-world one, and the difference is that it's kind of more of an overlay with that play button and bar, as well as the volume and transcript. Those are your two options for audio. And here we see those links out to other tour stops, and we're actually not going to use those because we're actually going to go through the tour itself. Now down here to the bottom, what you'll have here is just a quick, if you want to take a glance at all of the stops that await you on the tour, you can click that this kind of number pad looking button here that says 1 of 5 to have that come up and show you all of the tour stops at a glance. But what we'll do here is we're just going to take a little tour. So welcome to Concept3D University. Here we're just going to move forward here, and we've entered the South Hall. And again, nice view of the soccer fields here. This is pretty neat. And again, this is just kind of some of the examples of some of the imagery you're allowed to add or able to add with this 360-degree tour. And you see panorama just panning around, looks pretty comfy. I'd hang out there. If we're looking to get some reading done, we can head to the library again. Some nice panoramic images of the library here on campus. Same thing with our fitness center here. And as you can just kind of see, it just gives a real immersive, good ideas to what your campus or what your location looks like once this picture is uploaded. And just I can really just take a look around, see what goes on with the space. And then lastly, our dining hall here. And as you've noticed, the mini map will also just kind of keep track of the stops on the tour as we go. Here we are on stop number 5, which is at the center at our dining hall. And as we head back to the quadrangle, that's just kind of a quick view of the front end of your 360 tour. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into your tour builder. Now, once you log into tour.concept3d.com with your account, you will be brought to the tour builder. This is your dashboard, or at least landing page for this. This is a walking tour that I created for a neighborhood near me. I'm in upstate New York. As you can see, I'm quite close to the thruway here. So we'll just be taking a look at this as far as just a regular map tile. I don't have an interactive map of my particular area here. But to get started, first and foremost, I want to call attention to this media library tab. This right up here is where you're going to be able to see all of your panoramas, all of your images, all of your videos that you've uploaded, any audio tracks you've recorded, or 360 videos that you've imported at a glance to just see what is available. This is where I'd recommend being really organized with your naming conventions, as this is a searchable directory. If you have a lot of imagery and you need to find one specific photo, you are able to find it as long as you know the name of that file. But again, if you're looking to just add new images, like we'll just go ahead and click on, we can just click upload new, and then it's going to pop up right here, and pretty much a standard upload form. You can either drag and drop into this rectangle here or upload from the computer, give it a name, give it some alt text, and then save it to your library. All right, that's just a quick look at the media library and what you can do in there. We're going to head back to, I'm going to zoom out here because there's not really much going on in my neighborhood as far as this map. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look. We have the tour manager here, and we're going to go ahead and click on create a new tour, and that's going to bring us to pretty much the most standard form of the front-facing tour builder with a brand new tour. It's pretty simple stuff. You just fill out this tour, give it a name, maybe a nice description, and then some more settings here. This is where you're going to determine whether you want your tour to be public or a restricted view. Again, a restricted view would need someone to have that viewer privilege or permission turned on for them. And they would also need to access that via a username and password. They would not just be able to log in via direct URL. But you have the ability to toggle public or restricted here. So we'll go ahead and just leave this one restricted for now. Again, those mini map settings, first of all, you have the option as to whether or not you even want the mini map to display. However, once you're in here, you have the option to choose. We'll go with scenic. Yeah, at least puts a park on my map here. That's nice. If you do have any Concept3D renderings that you'd like to link to, we have a field here that you can just plop the URL right in here and then click upload. For a default zoom level, just clicking on this, a little slider bar is going to open up at the bottom of your map here, and you can just determine where you would like the default zoom to be when entering the page. We'll set it there. That's nice. Nice little framing of the park there. For panorama settings, if you are viewing on mobile, you have the option to go into VR mode. And this is only on mobile, as you can't enter VR mode on a desktop. However, you will see a little VR button up here in the right corner if that's available. And what you do is really just, if you have one of those like cardboard sleeves that Google used to send out, or something like an Oculus Rift, if you're able to access this web page, you would be able to view those panoramas in VR. It's pretty neat. And here's where you'd be able to toggle that on and off. Lastly, you have the option for those welcome pop-up settings, that nice warm message that pops up at the beginning when arriving at the map. That doesn't necessarily need to be on or off. Here's where you'd be able to toggle that. And then you also, if you want to take it a step further, would be able to add a welcome video. If you have such a, maybe just a short overview or welcome video you'd like to add, we accept YouTube and Vimeo URLs to be added there. Lastly, this is a new tour, so you won't see this. However, you will be able to see who the last person it was that edited this down here, should anyone edit it. If I were to save this, it would add my name and the date as a timestamp as to when those changes were made. We're going to go ahead and move forward for the interest of time. We're going to go move over to the tour stops page. And now again, we're actually going to head back, and we're going to go into the one that I have created so we can take a look at some tour stops. Now I have about 5 created here. That's kind of confusing. This is a street number, but if we go into general, this is, we're actually going to head over to tour stops. You'll see the ones that I've created for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, just around my neighborhood here. But if you wanted to create a new tour stop, just click new tour stop. And again, you're just going to fill out this form here, give it a name. You're going to drop a pin. So for number 6, it's going to pop up here. Let's just do it right in the middle of the park here. As I mentioned before, it's going to need one of those 3 forms of main media, either a panorama, a 360 video, or a static image. If neither of those are available, this is where you would add that. And then you have the option to either upload it, select it from your media library that we showed earlier, or add a different media type, which will bring you back to that original panel. You could also add any additional media, such as an additional description, any additional images for context, another video, or again, an audio track to record for that location. You'll have the same option to set a default zoom level when dealing with this new tour stop. And again, you'll always be able to see who last edited it, easy to say, once done, once saved. So we'll head back here. And now we're just going to keep going right across the top here. For those buttons here, we see this nice example here to the right of the Texas A&M campus buttons. But if you are looking to add a new button, simply create a new button. And a new window is going to pop up that's going to allow you to choose between a standard hyperlink button or create a dropdown, and you can just add more links as you go. Again, up to 6 can be added. And then you have the option right here to either open that in the current window, or again, our recommendation for best practice would be opening in a new tab so that you keep your place on the tour. All right, styles page. Here's where you're going to be able to kind of pretty up the tour with some primary colors here as far as what's represented where. You have the option to upload a logo to your platform, as well as add a link to the website that will be accessible once clicked on. Here you have the option to customize those buttons. I went with a really bold purple on neon green approach, but hey, this is a place to get creative. They're supposed to be eye-catching, so I figured I'd do a little bit of a neon purple here, but that's where you'd be able to customize both of the colors for those. You can just enter a standard hex code, or you can find your desired color somewhere on this little spectrum here. Lastly, if you have a favicon you'd like to appear in the tab or on a mobile device, you can upload that here. And here's where you'll actually be able to add default icons for your hotspots, depending on their media type. So you can make sure that one always shows up for images, video, text, audio, etc. Moving right along, we're going to discard those changes. I like that color scheme I had on those buttons there. We're going to take a look. This is Forms. This is another add-on with Concept3D 360 Tours. This would be something you would need to embed from an existing CRM here. This is where you can drop that form embed code as well as a description and name. Like I said, we do not actually maintain any of the information that you collect via form. Once this is filled out, it would be sent along to your CRM of choice for lead generation or wherever you want that to be sent to. Here, if you do have a form on the page, you can always have it display on the left-hand side with a little icon that's always available, or you can just turn that off. You also have the option to select on which tour stop you would like the form to automatically pop up on, or how long on a page they have spent before it pops up. And lastly, you can determine whether you want that to repeat based on an action taken in the tour. Moving into translations, this is another add-on for Concept3D Tours. However, you have the ability to add foreign language support for your tour. Simply click Add Language, and you're going to see the available languages here. This is a demo, so we have some additional ones here. You are able to translate the content on your own, or if you'd like, this is something that Concept3D will take care of you for a small fee. Lastly, the Share and Publish tab. This one's important. Again, over here on the right, we're going to have those links out to share, just like it was on the front end map here with this share button. Same options are available here in the Tour Builder with your embed link, your share link, and then select the language to default to if it's not English, if others are selected. Over here on the right, this one's important. This is the Publish tab. All of the changes that you make while in CRM are going to be kept here for record keeping purposes, and you'll be able to see what is or isn't waiting. And we have a note here with this. There are 2 pending changes. Those changes that I've made, including adding that new French language translation and the other changes I've made on default zoom or the map style, those don't go live until I click publish. So even if you've made changes in the CRM here, you still need to make sure to come over here and click publish. You'll also see up in this right-hand corner, this publish button. Clicking on that is going to just kind of take you right to a quick publish menu where you can publish now, publish just an individual page, or preview it before you go live. And again, you'll see this nice little red icon lets you know that there is information available. Some really quick things before we try to take some questions here. I did want to point out that we will always know who is working in the tour first and foremost. If someone else is working on the tour besides you, this will indicate that there is another user editing this tour. Since it's just me in here, it even says Andy.Marshall, you. There's only me, but it's indicating here. You'll also be able to see that up here as far as who is in the CRM overall. So maybe they might not be editing this particular tour. However, if another member of your team is online, maybe working on a different tour or other content, it's possible that you might want to coordinate with them just to make sure that you're not doing double work or any other reason that you might want to communicate. One last thing, if I go ahead and click my name up here, and I go ahead and I click on account settings, this is where you'd be able to add your Google Analytics links, your tracking ID. We have a field now for Google Analytics 4 if you've already migrated ahead of their launch this coming July, as well as your Google Tag Manager, some advanced settings, specifically if you have an integration with Capture Higher Ed, you'll be able to add that tracking ID here as well to track those metrics. And then lastly, over here on the right, I mentioned those user roles and permissions before. You have a link here that's always going to describe, this might look familiar, it's on that slide that it just talked about here, as well as any current users on the account. This is my test account, so I am the only user. However, if I wanted to add someone new, I just click add a new user and just fill out what I'd like them to do. You can also disable an account if they're no longer part of your team, or maybe just not working on the tour currently, or set their and then just create user here. All right, well, that actually kind of wraps up my presentation here. I'm going to just head back to the main view here. Actually, we'll go to Concept3D University. And we'll just start rotating there. Questions, I see I have one in the chat from Lori Strauss. Can you talk a little bit about accessibility and meeting WCAG standards with these tours? Lori, that's a great question. I am going to defer on that one. This is a little bit more of a new user 101. However, I do want to make sure we get you some of that information. If you can put in the chat, are you currently a tour customer? Are you a Concept3D customer? Because if so, I'll make sure to have your client success manager follow up with a little bit more about this. I hope the chat's working. Okay, great. I'm going to actually have your client success manager reach out to you about this, just so that we make sure we're answering those very specific questions you might have about accessibility, because I know there's a lot of different avenues we can go down that, and some that I'm not really prepared to speak about right this second. But I appreciate you asking, because it is top of mind here for us at Concept3D. Any other questions, guys? I really appreciate your time. I think this went pretty well. Hope you've enjoyed my presentation. If there's no other questions, I appreciate you joining. Please join us again soon for our next localist, our next webinar, which is going to be a feature on localist bulletin and register coming up on May 2nd. I know April's already finished, but thanks again, everybody, for joining, and you have a lovely rest of your Tuesday.